What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Blazers Uprise Postgame show. The Blazers do what they were supposed to do tonight. They blow out the Cavs, winning by 36 with a final score of 141-105. You had Damian Lillard. Look like Damian Lillard tonight. It's his second straight 30-point game, which is a great sign leading up to the playoffs after he had struggled for about a month. You had Yusuf Nurkic with a solid game. He hits another three. He's become a three-point shooter. We'll talk about that a little bit. You saw the return of Anderson Varejao. I know everybody was ecstatic to see that. The only relevancy his name has had has been as dead money on our salary cap books, but he actually got a little bit of time in garbage time. You had some fun moments in this game. This was an enjoyable game. This is going to be a pretty chill post-game show. A bad team that they blew out, Eric. I assume you're not too high after this one. It's a bad team, and these games are indicative of anything going into the playoffs. It's nice to win like this, though.
What's up, Gabe? He says you're welcome for beating them up last night.
yeah, thanks for making it easy.
Overtime, second night of a back-to-back for them. The only thing I'll say about, they should have blown this team out. Yes, I'm happy they did it. The last game of a road trip, though, a 6-game road trip especially, there was the potential for a letdown here, so I am glad that they came out and took care of business tonight and didn't let the momentum switch back to being negative after losing on Monday. They got right back into their winning ways and did a lot of the good things that they had done prior to the game on Monday. So it was good to see them not take 2 steps back every time they take a step forward. It was just a little blunder on Monday, so hopefully that sets them up for a nice little homestand here.
Yep, this could have been defined as a trap game. You're right. The last game of a 6-game road trip, 4-1 before this. Glad that it wasn't a trap game. They did what they should have, but we've seen this team at points this year kind of fall into trap games, and those games are much closer than they should be.
We wanted to win tonight, but we're still glad we went 4-2 on this trip. I could have easily seen that happening tonight.
Thank goodness we're not getting those post-game comments. It's nice that we blew him out the way we did. I would have liked to have kept Dame under 30 minutes in this one. He plays 31, so not too many. Felt like he probably didn't need to play 31. CJ probably didn't need to play 31, but everybody else played 26 minutes or less. Norman Powell did not play in this game. He's been, injured. He played through it last game. This game they sat him. Definitely the right decision. So he gets a kind of game to recover. I don't know if he'll play in the Lakers game, but if he does, that's 3 days of rest for him. So hopefully hopefully this game kind of helps us be a little bit more fresh heading into what is going to be our biggest game of the season.
Yeah, that's actually my only gripe from tonight. The second unit in the second quarter was playing fantastic. And what do? We bring Dame in with like 7:18 left in the second quarter, guaranteeing that he's going to play 31 minutes in this game when we win by 36. That's my only gripe. I know 31 minutes isn't 38 or whatever, but he sat the whole fourth quarter and still played 31 minutes. Why bring him in there? Why not just let him sit and see if the second unit can continue the run? If they cut it to 10 like they did later in the quarter once Dame came back in, actually I think they cut it to like 7 at one point, then you can put Dame back in and we're not really in trouble. But why not just sit him down and let him rest like 8 minutes into the quarter and let Simons and Melo go crazy and do all that kind of stuff? I didn't think there was any reason to bring him back there. That's my one biggest gripe from this game.
Yeah, that's really the only thing to complain about. And I don't know. It's going to be important that Dame has enough energy for the postseason. We've seen it in past years where he's kind of a little bit gassed by the time the playoffs roll around. Games like this are a perfect opportunity to get him some rest, especially when the bench is playing that good. I would have sat him until they made a little run, a little bit of a run. If they'll make a little bit of a run, just keep the bench unit in there. The bench unit was playing great. Carmelo Anthony tonight had one of his best games of the season. In 22 minutes, he has 16 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. He found Canner on all 3 of those assists. Canner himself, 18 points, 13 boards, 9 for 11 from the field in 21 minutes. Nasir Little, 8 points in 14 minutes. Anthony Simons had 10 points, was 4 for 6. And you look at those 4 guys. Melo's a plus 29. Nasir's a plus 28 in 14 minutes, Eric. Now, a little bit of that, I think, was in garbage time, but Canner, plus 30 in 21 minutes. Simons, plus 26 in 25 minutes. So that shows you that they were extending the lead there in that first half. Would have just ran the bench a little bit longer, get Dame a little bit more rest. I think they could have easily done that. Now, 25 minutes compared to 31, is that really going to make a huge difference? I don't know. It's just you got to find this guy as much rest as possible without risking games or risking losses.
I mean, he was on the injury report headed into this game. We all know how banged up he is. I mean, it's good to see him get back into the rhythm and stuff, but I don't think I don't like the precedent of always having him play 31 minutes leading into the fourth quarter before that's even started, even against a team like the Cavs. But I didn't like it on Monday. I didn't like it on Sunday. I'm going to continue to bring it up as long as we continue to play him 31 minutes before the fourth quarter even starts, because in the playoffs, he's going to have to come back in with 7 or 8 minutes left in the fourth, or in some games, maybe not even sit in the fourth. And then you're talking about 42, 43 minutes. And this is why this guy gets so tired and worn down by the end of the season. And he had a little break where he sat 3 games a couple weeks ago. But this guy needs as much little brief rest as possible if we're not going to flat out load manage and sit him games.
Yeah. So that's really the only complaint from tonight. Otherwise, you have a lot of good individual performances in this one. On the Blazers end, Rocco 3 for 7. That's 42% from 3 in this game, and that's after he got hit in the head once again. That dude's head is a magnet for elbows and arms and limbs flying at it. So. Thankfully, he was able to get back in the game because I was worried that was going to be a concussion protocol, which would have put his status for this upcoming Lakers game at risk, all because he gets hit in the head in a game that we win by 36. I would have hated to have seen him miss that next game, but he returned, so that's good. Derrick Jones Jr. gets the start tonight. It was good to see him play. That's what I said I would do if you had to, rest one of Norm, CJ, or Dame. In 20 minutes, 5 points. 1 rebound, 2 for 2 from the field. Didn't have a huge impact, but it was good to see him play. And obviously, he's not going to have any sort of a rhythm because he hasn't been playing in games prior to this. We saw him get a rhythm before the trade deadline, and he was getting you 10 to 12 points a game pretty efficiently, shooting well from 3. He had a stretch there where he was really good on both sides of the floor. So it's a shame that we've kind of cut that rhythm off, but it was nice to see him play today. Feel free to stop me and talk about any of these guys if you want.
I mean, he was a little sloppy out there. 3 turnovers in 20 minutes. For a role player like that, you don't like to see that. And big surprise, the one time he cut in this game, he had a wide open dunk.
Yeah.
So.
I will say 1 or 2 of those turnovers, I don't know if it was necessarily his own doing. It was like a bad pass behind him where he had to catch him, was falling out of bounds and tried to save it. And it's his turnover, but it wasn't really his fault. That was one of those 3. But yeah, I mean, it was good to see him out there on the floor. But the best performers in this game, definitely Canner. Canner had a Canner-esque game, finished around the rim, rebounded. Not much to talk about. 18 points, 13 rebounds in 21 minutes. That's a typical good Enes Kanter game. All right. But Simons continues to shoot hot. 2 for 2 from the 3-point line, 4 for 6 from the field. Nasir 3 for 3 from the field, 1 for 1 from the 3-point line. That finish he had, that and one finish, Eric, was impressive.
Yes, for sure.
But the guy that played the best off the bench, though, I mean, I gotta give him some credit in this one. It was definitely Melo. 2 for 4 from the 3-point line. He was 3 for 4 inside the arc, 4 for 4 from the free throw line. Hit some shots, but also just 3 real impressive passes. I mean, making you look a little less silly for suggesting point Melo with some of those dishes he had to Canner.
Yeah, I mean, the games where he's been a willing passer, he's been more than adequate at it. But
yep. But then Dame, 32 points, 9 assists, 10 for 17, 6 for 10. And some of those 3-point shots were the difficult off-the-dribble 3-point shots that we're accustomed to him hitting, but he hasn't been able to get them to fall anytime lately. So this is extremely encouraging. And that's the most encouraging thing from this game is just the way that Dame played and the way that Dame shot the ball, because we're going to need him to get going. And it was good for him to build a rhythm. Hopefully this creates some sort of momentum for him headed into the stretch run.
Yeah, I mean, if he's hitting those step back threes, that definitely elevates it. I did think it was funny. So I saw a stat the other day that out of the timeout, we're actually, I think, like 7th or something in points per possession out of a timeout. And so we had a timeout today where Dame gets a pick near half court and has 2 guys on him, and he hits like a 3 from 30 feet. And it's like, okay, well, there's a 3-point possession out of timeout, but it's like Stotts gets credit on that. Coaches who are good after the timeout sheet with that kind of stuff. And I just had to chuckle at that Dame is like single-handedly propping that up. But it's nice to see him hit the tough ones, though. He had been really struggling on some of those step backs, and we know he's gonna have tight contested shots. So when he's hitting those, it does open up the floor a lot. Then you see a backdoor from Nurk, which is open if they're overplaying him on those handoffs. And then you also saw him get to the rim a lot more than he had been doing, and actually got to the free throw line a couple times. So it's nice to see him getting back on track, I think.
Yep. Shout out Mills Woj, $5 donation, says, who's going on Friday? So let's talk about this. This post-game stream might be as much just talking about a couple relevant topics, kind of, fans coming back, and then potential Terry Stotts replacements that were leaked from a source or whatnot. So
before you get that, do you get the dono?
I was just thinking the Mills Woj $5 dono. Yeah. And he's saying who's going on Friday, so that's why I was prefacing it with the fans being a topic. 10% capacity allowed. The Blazers are no longer the only team in the league without fans. 10% capacity on Friday. So the Lakers game. Better not see any Lakers fans in there. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah. As far as who's going on Friday, Woj, probably none of us.
So I have the scoop on that if you want it.
Yeah.
So Bry the Kid asked if he had any chance of getting tickets on like SeatGeek or whatever. The answer to that is probably no. I guess there could be some people reselling them and stuff that get them.
But if they are, they're going to be like $800.
Yeah, they're going to be super expensive. But anyways, so tomorrow morning they're sending out an email, and it's slotted by seniority of senior tickets, how long you've had season tickets. So like the longest tenured season ticket holders will have first shot at like 9 o'clock, and then it'll go to the next tier at 10 o'clock and the next tier, and so on. So my mom actually had half season tickets for the longest time, and in the 1920 season she switched to season tickets because she was so frustrated at the process for half season ticket holders who are trying to get playoff tickets. With our Western Conference Finals run, she ended up going to a bunch of games, but it was so messed up how difficult it was for someone who had been supporting the team for years or whatever. But anyways, so yeah, she's going to try to get some tickets, but I'm guessing by the time it gets to her, it's going to be pretty tough, let alone anyone who's not part of a season ticket holder package. It's going to be pretty difficult to get tickets off their thing because there's only 1,900 available. So I'm assuming those are going to go really fast.
Yeah, and my curiosity is, are they going to price gouge the season ticket holders? Is it going to be like $2,000 for a ticket for season ticket holders, because obviously supply is 10%, right? So what happens when supply is 10% and the demand is, the demand doesn't drop to that level either? Prices go up. And that's the way it works in tickets. Now, obviously, this is a drastic case because in any other situation, capacity is never going to be 10% unless you're in a pandemic like we are. But I'm just wondering if it's going to be a situation where it's like, yeah, we'll reward our season ticket holders for being season ticket holders. They'll get first dibs, but yeah, you got to pay $2,500 for a 200 level ticket. I wonder if that's how it's going to be, or if they'll try and be relatively fair in terms of the pricing.
I don't know, because I think they said there was only a few courtside tickets, and those would only go to if you had been a courtside season ticket holder before. But there's only a few in the lower level. Most of them are in the upper level. So I'd be surprised if they were super expensive. Westbrook is saying $100 for 300 level tickets. I'm not sure if that's something he's just guessing on, or if that's something he knows.
I just know the resale is going to be high because they're not opening it up much, if at all, to the general public.
I wonder if so they're not making vaccinations required, but there is some sort of health screen. I'm sure it's just like a questionnaire if you've been sick in the last 14 days or whatever that you have to complete before you enter the arena. And also, my mom's saying that you can't resell them.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
maybe that's yeah. I think there's going to be some sort of stipulation maybe that you can't resell them. And then that way they won't have to worry about who those people are selling to or whatever. But yeah.
I wish they would not necessarily require vaccinations, but like create sections of vaccinated people where you maybe don't have to be as distance if everybody's vaccinated. You know what I mean? I don't know. I wish that was something they were looking to, because I feel like the capacity could be larger if there was something to do with vaccinations there being fully vaccinated. But I don't know. It sounds like it's just going to be 10% probably for the playoffs as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's still better than nothing, at least. Thanks, Dame, for getting that done.
Yeah, better. yeah, it's better than nothing. It's just, are we even going to notice on TV? Because how many fans did the Cavs have there? What's their capacity? Sure, I mean, I know it's the Cavs, but
it's crazy because earlier in the day I was hearing rumors that I live in Washington County and they had not gone into the extreme risk category, but I heard they were going to and have indoor dining in that county again, back down to not available. And then I heard that the Moda Center was going to not have fans the rest of the season, and then Dame speaks up about it on Twitter, and a few hours later, Governor Brown has changed her mind and allowed fans. So shout out to Dame for being the most influential man in Oregon.
Yeah. I don't know. Hopefully I'll be fully vaccinated a week from now, and then obviously there's a 2-week period, so I mean, it doesn't even line up for me. It's just people, healthcare workers, whatnot, that have been fully vaccinated. I feel like they could raise capacity if they did something with vaccinations. That's my only kind of issue at this point.
I guess they redid, I forgot what the technical terms for them, but a lot of their airflow systems and stuff like that, they made it kind of state of the art, and should help reduce transmission in the arena. But I think it's a case to where if it goes really well over the first few games and stuff, I think the chances are in the playoffs maybe they'll increase it a little bit. But how
much can you gather from 4 home games though? Because that's all they have left in the regular season.
I think it's more just the process of it, like how it, more like the appearance of it, if it seems like it's spread out and fine, and there's like open areas to add more people, or like you said, if they added a vaccination requirement to certain sections, maybe where you could have them packed in a little more than in other sections. I think there's some reasonable stuff they can do, because that was the Moda Center was saying like, look, all season we've been preparing for this. I believe it's safe. I feel like we can do it in a safe way. And that was one of the reasons why she changed her mind. So if it's going really well and they're all like, so we did this to increase it to this at a certain point, maybe she would consider that. But like obviously if there's if it's like rowdy and people are all in each other's faces and hardly anyone's wearing a mask, I can also see it going the other way possibly. But
yeah. I mean, I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. But then the other topic of a conversation I want to get to, I mean, we could sit here and talk about how we just spanked the Cavs, but I mean, it's a blowout against a bad team. So I want to talk about what you guys want to listen to, and I feel like this is pretty relevant. Potential head coaching candidates got leaked as potential Stotts replacements.
Weird timing of an article of Stotts being fired at the end of the season and actually listing names.
Yeah, and the names were Jason Kidd, David Yeager, Chauncey Billups. Who are the other two?
Nate McMillan.
Nate McMillan, we could bring him back.
Oh, man, why am I blanking on the other one?
Who was the fifth name, guys?
Without having to look it up.
Yeah, let's see if somebody in chat can help us out, can give us the assist.
Brent Barry, thank you.
Brent Barry. Okay, Brent Barry. All right. Chauncey Billups is intriguing. Brent Barry is intriguing. Not saying those guys would be my first choice by any means, but they're intriguing. As far as Jason Kidd goes, no to Jason Kidd. I've said that a million times. We do fire Terry Stotts to get another Terry Stotts. That's what that would be, in my opinion. Like, I would not be happy with that signing whatsoever. I don't know. I mean, like, yeah, I'd rather, have something new. So I'd take it if that's what it had to be. But want something innovative. Want somebody who is going to have an offense that features a lot of ball movement, that utilizes Nurkic's playmaking, that gets Dame easier shots by utilizing him properly off the ball, much like the Warriors utilize Steph, and then creative defensively. I don't think Jason Kidd, just seeing what he's done in his previous stops, really festers any of that. Doesn't really bring that out in the teams that he's coached. So Jason Kidd, no. Yeager.
Well, let me comment on Kidd.
Yeah, go ahead.
Before we move on.
Go ahead.
So, I mean, this is a guy, I know he wasn't at either of his stops very long, but didn't have a good defense in any of the places. I mean, he had a young Giannis, so I don't know how much I can say, like, oh, he had the MVP, he shouldn't have done that, because he wasn't the MVP quite yet. But, I mean, I really have a tough time with a coach that's already gotten multiple chances unless it's someone who like can specifically bring a certain resume to the table. And Kidd, I mean, you could say he was young and he's learned a lot after winning a championship as an assistant last year, maybe. But in my opinion, I would shy away from most of those guys. It's fine if you want to interview them, but like the play, like the next mention, the guy you just mentioned, as we're going to move on to next, Dave Yeager. I mean, it's the same way. I mean, you can argue that maybe he didn't get a fair shake in Sacramento, which is definitely a good argument, I guess. But he's been a coach two places now, and it's like. I don't know. I'm kind of sick of those type of guys getting a shot. I'd rather bring in someone a little more creative and have a fresh approach to this versus someone who's going to be similar to Stotts and kind of stuck in their ways from already being a coach.
Yep, I agree with that. Nate McMillan falls into that tier as well. A retread who we've had before.
Yeah.
I mean, that's as retready as it gets. I mean, he's improved as a coach since his time in Portland. He's adapted more to the modern NBA than maybe a guy like Terry Stotts has, but I don't want to retread. So Chauncey Billups would be interesting, and Brent Barry would be interesting just because they're new guys.
Yeah, so the retread thing, the only guy I would well, I wouldn't say only, but one of the guys I am still intrigued about, even though he's like the definition of a retread, is Mike Brown. And that's only because as a head coach, if you take away the season, he only coached 4 games with the Lakers. He has never had a team finish worse than 14th on defense. And now a lot of those teams had LeBron, so you can't really gather too much in that. But you can definitely point to he's a defensive specialist coach who has that. And at the same time, with those kind of coaches, you maybe could say, well, what about the offense? I'm kind of worried about that. Well, this is the guy who went to Dame at an All-Star game and told him that he needs to start playing off the ball and play more like Steph does in Golden State if he wants to take his team to the next level. So I would be intrigued by that type of retread who has a definite plan in place to better Dame's shot selection, his the team's overall ball movement, stuff like that, because he learned under Steve Kerr that system to add to his already good defensive acumen. But most of the retreads aren't that qualified, in my opinion, so I would just shy away from them. As for Chauncey Billups, that's someone who this list didn't make sense to me from Olshe's point of view. One, it was Shams, not Woj, and two, it's like a lot of those guys don't seem like Olshey type guys, but Chauncey Billups is. Like, he brought him to the Clippers one of his last years when he was the GM of the Clippers, and I've heard they have a pretty good relationship. I think at one point he was being considered as like an assistant GM here or something like that. But I have a tough time with Billups because he was someone I thought would be a good GM or a coach, but when he was an analyst on like ESPN and stuff, I just cringed at a lot of stuff he said. It was a lot of like surface level stuff that I'm not saying that I know for sure. I don't. It just seems like kind of a casual point of view, you know, and someone who, that's the tough thing about those kind of players is like, if it fails here, yes, that looks bad on him, but like, what the heck does he care? He's got like tons of money and has already been a star athlete in the NBA and won championship and all that kind of stuff. So like, it's not the end of the world. Whereas someone who doesn't necessarily have all that, and I'm not saying it can't work, but I just, that combined with some of the stuff he said about some of the players and stuff like that, just some of his approaches to different things schematically that I heard him say, I was like, I was kind of soured on him. But obviously he can change and it might be different than he was as an analyst. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really like him. Brent Barry's one that I've never really heard mentioned, so I don't really know much about him other than, you know, he obviously went to Oregon State and played in the league for a long time. But
yeah. So we'll keep you guys posted on any developments with that, of course. But yeah, it's a weird timing with that article, but I saw a lot of people talking about it, so I figured we just address it, and this was kind of the perfect post-game show to talk about that. But the Blazers score 141 in regulation today. The first time they've done that in regulation since 1993. So very impressive offensive game tonight. The Blazers end up, let me get their shooting splits here. The Blazers end up shooting 58% from the field, 48.5% from three, 19 for 25 from the free throw line, only had 10 turnovers to 26 assists. So a very, very good offensive game. Not a surprise when you're going up against the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are starting Kevin Love, and Colin Sexton isn't a good defender. But, I mean, they got Okaro and Allen. You know, that's pretty much the only two solid defensive players they had in the game today, though. Isaac Okoro. Remember debating him, dude? 31 minutes, 2 for 9 from the field.
He had some decent games recently, but I saw Ben Darling puffing out his chest about how good of a pick that was, and That was yesterday.
Oh my goodness. I was not high on the guy coming into the draft. I thought he should have been taken around the 15th pick, not the 5th pick. He's shot under 40% from three. He's given 9 points per game and he can defend. It's just like there were better players on the board. Tyrese Halliburton, a Denny Avdia, I'm blanking on names, but there's a number of other guys. But I was watching him, and this was just kind of this random thought I had during the game. He looked so physically dominant in college, and now he looks so small in the NBA. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. Like, obviously the NBA has bigger players and whatnot, but I feel like, I don't know how he went from looking so physically dominant and big at college to as small as he does on the NBA court. I thought that was kind of funny. Do you get that vibe too, or is it just me?
He looks tiny out there, and he looked like he was going to be like a physical freak even for the NBA. Mm-hmm. But as James pointed out, he did have 32 points last night.
Congratulations. So. I mean, Nasir Little would have had 32 points if he got the same opportunities. He gets one opportunity to play a lot against Milwaukee, drops 30, so I'll take Nas over him. I don't know. This rookie class was labeled as a weak rookie class. It's been surprisingly solid. Mm-hmm. Surprisingly solid.
And without a training camp, without a summer league, all that kind of stuff. So props to a lot of those rookies for coming in ready to go.
I mean, everybody was shouting about the Patrick Williams pick at 4. How much of a reach it was, and he's come in and is shooting 38% from 3, 48% from the field, giving him 9 points per game in 28 minutes, playing good defense. He's been one of the best players on that Bulls team, low key. He's been solid, I think. Has turnover issues and. He's not like super impressive offensively, but he's one of their few guys that can produce on both ends of the floor. Levine ain't producing on the defensive end. Kobe White ain't producing on the defensive end, and offensively he's become a bit overrated. So they need more two-way guys like that. But yeah, the rookie class been impressive so far this year. Just didn't like the Caro pick, but I guess that's kind of what they needed. What else do you want to talk about from this game? Because I'm just kind of like scraping the bottom of the barrel with this one.
I thought Nurk played really well.
Continues to, yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he had a bad game on Monday, but
yeah. I mean, the whole team had a bad game on Monday,
right? And then this is my only other thing from this game. It's obviously a positive for this game, but last game we talked about afterwards. If you're going to use the tired excuse and the 5 games and 7 nights thing, why not give guys like Derrick Jones and Nas and Hollis Jefferson? Why don't you give those guys some minutes and just see if you can maybe steal a game with some energy or something? Mm-hmm. So it was nice to see like Nas come in, and I thought he played really well in the first half. He hit his first 3. He had a nice drive and 1 finish. Made his free throw. Played good defense, and then gets taken out after a few minutes because Dame has to come back in for some reason. But it's that's what I wanted to see on Monday, and that's why I was saying that after the game. Like, why not just like give your energy guys, your wings, some chance to play and see if they could do anything if your legs were that tired. So I was expecting them in this game to produce. Since Powell wasn't playing. For those that don't know, Powell sat out due to patellar tendinopathy, which is not tendinitis. It's just it's another type of issue that's, I guess it's similar to that, but yeah, basically he had a sore knee. But I think they're just being cautious with them, and this was the perfect game to sit him out. But yeah, just games like Monday are why I don't want to hear excuses of, oh, they were just tired or whatever, because you have all these guys on the bench that hadn't played over this winning streak, and they could have possibly put those guys in, but that's the only other negative I saw from, I guess that was from Monday, not tonight, but I thought those guys all played really well. It was nice to see the second unit cooking tonight.
Yep. So shout out Mills Woj, another $5 dono. He says, talk about Brown not playing Friday. Sure, let's do that. So the Blazers, I mean, this is a game they should have won. Okay, good to keep Dame around 30 minutes. Because next game, they got the Lakers, and this is going to be the biggest game of the season in terms of seeding. Currently, they are half a game behind the Lakers and half a game behind the Mavericks. Those two teams are tied for 5th and 6th. We, of course, are 7th. Tomorrow, both those teams play. The Mavericks take on the Nets, so hopefully the Nets play KD and Kyrie. James Harden is out for the regular season at this point. Hopefully the Nets can help us out there. And then the Lakers play the Clippers. So this Lakers game is interesting. If they lose, the Clippers are currently in a battle with Denver right now for 3rd and 4th. So based on this game, if the Clippers beat the Lakers, we'll be tied with them, right? And then we'll have the game upcoming against them, which would basically be maybe the game to decide which team finishes above. Because not only if the Lakers lose tomorrow, we'll be tied. We'll face them on Friday. If we win, we'll be a game up with the tiebreaker. If they win, they'll be a game up with the tiebreaker. So it's almost like it decides 2 games, so to say, because it decides, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Basically, it decides. It's basically a 2-game swing, essentially. So that's why this is the biggest game of the season. But if the Clippers beat the Lakers, they'll separate themselves a little bit more from Denver. Because the Clippers are now in 3rd. Denver is a half game behind them in 4th. So if that happens, it's going to be more important that we get the 5th seed compared to the 6th seed, if that's where Denver ends up finishing out the season. So basically, it's just kind of a situation where, we want to be 5th or 6th, but we want to face Denver in the first round. So if Denver's 3rd, we probably want to be 6th instead of 5th. If Denver's 4th, we probably want to be 5th instead of 6th. So that's something to watch out for as we head down the stretch run. But Lakers Clippers tomorrow. That game's on TNT, so if you guys have TNT, you can watch it. And then that game's tipping off at 7 p.m. The Mavericks Nets game, the Mavericks are playing in Brooklyn. That game's tipping off at 4:30 p.m. So the Lakers, going into Friday, will be on the second night of a back-to-back. They don't have Zion, or not Zion. They don't have LeBron. No,
they don't have Zion. That's true.
They do not have Zion. I pulled up the next day, and that was the first name I saw. They won't have LeBron for that Clippers game. Jordan Kent said he was upgraded day-to-day. Is it possible he'll play in that Lakers-Blazers game, or is that just Jordan Kent being Jordan Kent?
No, Vogel said that he was definitely out tomorrow night, but that they were not ruling him out quite yet for Friday. But it's something that also he said was not going to be he's not going to be healthy for the rest of the year, and he's just going to have to either play with it hurting or not play. And so I don't know. I think he'll probably sit out a couple games, although if they lose tomorrow night, I think they might, I don't know, they might feel pressure to stay out of that playing game. So I could see him maybe playing, but yeah, that's a tough one.
I mean, for them, it's just like, get him as healthy as possible for the playing game, and if he's relatively healthy, they should win that playing game. So they're all worried about, about being in that playing game, but I mean, you need LeBron healthy more than you need to avoid the playing game. Because if he's not healthy, there's a good chance they fall to the playing game anyway, and then if he's not healthy for that, maybe they lose it, maybe they miss out on the playoffs. If he's relatively healthy, they'll be in 7th, they'll have the playing game. They just have to win 1 out of 2 games. And sure, you don't get like the rest, but LeBron probably doesn't need, like, it's not like he's going to be like not rested physically other than the injury he's dealing with. So if you're able to fix that, he should be pretty rested physically, and that could like ramp him up going into the playoffs. He might need that. Same thing with Anthony Davis, who missed a lot of time and is now getting back. So I don't know. Their situation is interesting to watch. LeBron isn't 100% out for that Blazers game, but if he played, I would assume it'd be on a minutes restriction. I just think for them, it wouldn't make sense. Even though they're playing Portland and in a battle for seeding with them, I think they need to be patient with LeBron because they bring him back and he instantly turns his ankle, like re-sprains it. You can't afford to have that happen again and maybe to a worse extent and then end up having him miss time in the postseason.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they play it the rest of the season. I mean, yeah, like you said, they might even be better just shutting it down and then avoiding the Clippers, win one game in the play-in, and you got the Suns or the Jazz, who I think would be a better matchup than the Clippers for them, particularly. I'm not saying that the Clippers are better than those teams, but
the Clippers are just harder to match up with, I feel like. They're harder to match up with just because they have two really good, talented, like, big perimeter players.
And they did beat the Nuggets last night or the night before without LeBron. So it's possible they could still win even if they sit him some of the games, as if Anthony Davis takes his head out of his, you know what. But that's definitely one of the more interesting things to watch the rest of the season is the Lakers, if they hang around in that race or just fall completely down to 7th. Definitely something to watch for.
Yep, we'd be alone in 5th if we won that Atlanta game. Too bad we couldn't take care of that one. But yeah, so the Mavericks face the Nets. We need some help there because they have a very easy schedule after that. The Lakers remaining, they got LA, Portland. Then after that Portland game, they got Phoenix, New York, Houston, Indiana, New Orleans. As far as Dallas goes, as I said, tomorrow they face Brooklyn. After that, they got Cleveland twice in a row, Memphis, New Orleans, Toronto, and Minnesota. Okay, so right now Dallas is the favorite for the 5th seed. Right now they're the favorite for the 5th seed. If I had to predict this, I would say they're going to finish the season 5-2, which would put them at 42 wins. We have the tiebreaker with them, so we would essentially, if they go 5-2, we would have to go
6-1, I think.
No, we got 37 wins.
Or 5-1.
We'd have to go 5-1.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is likely for us.
And that guy saves his house.
And that guy saves his house too, yeah. I don't think 5-1 is likely for us with the schedule. So it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to beat out Dallas, essentially.
We need the Mavericks to either lose a game or two that they weren't expected to, or we have to basically play lights out for the rest of the season.
Yep. At this point, I think the Mavericks. I'm calling it right now. The Mavericks are going to be the 5th seed. That is my prediction right now, just based on schedules and kind of team situations. 6th for 7th seed. I mean, when it comes down to it, Eric, I mean, if the Clippers are the 3 seed, I don't know. Like, you want to avoid the play-in, but if you can get that 7th seed and then win that first play-in game, you might get an easier first-round matchup. So it might not be all that bad.
Yeah, I wouldn't risk that. I would rather just play the Clippers. I don't like avoiding teams if it's like that purposeful.
I'm not saying to avoid. I'm not saying to force a play-in to avoid the Clippers. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it might not be as bad if you can just take care of business with that game. You might get an easier matchup. So it might not be as bad as you would think.
The only thing I'll say about the Clippers is if you can. I know we haven't played well against them, but that's the same case against another Paul George team, the Oklahoma City Thunder, who we obviously they didn't have Kawhi, but
they had Westbrook in all series.
We were 0 for 4 against them in the regular season and ended up beating them 4-1 in the playoffs. But with what happened to them last year, if you could somehow jump on them early and get that doubt, or if they choke away a lead in the fourth quarter of game 1 or something, they, other than maybe Kawhi, they do not have, I think, the mental fortitude to like bounce back from that. You might just in the Clippers franchise as we know it, and they might make sweeping changes because it's not working out. I know that's a big outside possibility, but that there will be some tenseness to that organization and those players if they start to choke a lead in the fourth quarter, or if you jump on them and get maybe a 1 or 2 game lead in the series.
We just haven't shown that we can guard them, though.
Oh,
That's
I know.
my whole
know.
thing. I mean, we
That's
lost to them
wishful
when they
thinking.
didn't even have. Yeah.
I'm just trying to come up with something that we could maybe...
That team is the worst matchup for us. I have no hope. I wouldn't say no hope, but very dim hope that we're going to be able to beat them because they have the defenders to give our backcourt a tough time. They have the mobile enough big men to trap, okay? But then, like, here's how I see a series with the Clippers going, okay? They trap us, we run a ton of pick and roll, and they trap it well, defend it well, and it resorts to us trying to isolate out of that with CJ McCollum going against Paul George and Damian Lillard going against Kawhi Leonard. And then on the other end, like, hopefully Terry doesn't run drop scheme, but if we run drop scheme, we're going to give up 130 points a game to them. And
you didn't like that game where we gave up like 47 or 48 in the first quarter to them?
Dude, I mean... healthy, they had 128 the first matchup, and then they had 133 the second matchup. Third matchup, they beat us 113, 112, but they didn't have Kawhi. Okay, so the season before that, I'm actually...
To be fair, we didn't have Dame or Nurk in that one. But
yeah, I'm just saying you can't really read too much in the into the offense. Last season, they beat us all three times? Yeah, they beat us all 3 times. They won 107 to 101, 117 to 97, and 122 to 117.
That was the game in the bubble where
yes,
they missed those 2 free throws, but Paul George and Kawhi Leonard barely played in the second half, I think, or didn't play at all in the second half or something like that. Yeah, and they were clowning Dame from the bench and.
Yeah, we haven't proven we can guard them. That's the team I want to avoid. You know, you just try and win games, and now it's like, this is why I like the plan. Okay, is because it creates a separation between 6th and 7th that wouldn't already be there. You know, and it could be a situation where it's like Portland's going to be 6th or 7th, and the Clippers might end up being 3rd, and you're sitting there, Portland, like, you know what, screw it, we're going to be 7th instead of 6th, so we get the Suns or the Jazz instead of the Clippers.
I don't think they'll think that way.
Yeah, but I mean, like, teams could easily think that. But now you create an extra incentive to be 6th to avoid the play-in. So you create separation between the 6th and 7th seed.
See, but if we play Phoenix, I mean, obviously, if we win, I'll be happy either way. But the narrative will be, oh, you beat a team that had no playoff experience and was young, or someone got hurt, or whatever.
Let that be the narrative. Yeah. That narrative can get Stotts fired then if we lose in the second round.
But if we somehow beat the Clippers, then that's like huge for a lot of people's legacies and stuff. So
no, if we beat the Clippers, it'll
Stotts
people will possible, but then also people are just going to say, wow, the Clippers cannot win the playoffs. They're a cursed franchise. Yeah. They're a bunch of chokers. Nobody's going to be talking about us, you know? And people are going to be like, wow, we get Phoenix and Portland in the second round or something like that. Yawn. Or Utah and Portland in the second round. Yawn. Clippers out again. Clippers choke. Lakers lost in the play-in too. I'm not watching the playoffs anymore. That would be some fans out there, some casual NBA fans. That's how it's going to go. So, I mean, definitely don't want that as the first round matchup. I don't know. Or if you're hoping for the season to crash and burn, I would root for that to be the first round matchup if that's what you want.
Yeah.
Shout out JM, $5 donation, says, so happy with the Stotts news today. Just had a dinner party debate about him, and I think I went over a few minds. LOL. Thanks again for opening my eyes. Appreciate the donation,
What's
JM. Would have liked to have. You should have recorded that, man. I would have liked to see, you know, how much you sound like us when you're pitching those points. How much of us we could hear in your arguments.
I did a little research today. I think you saw my post, but I went back through because I'm on this narrative now that any coach who has 2 consecutive seasons as a bottom 3 defensive rated team should automatically be fired.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to go back and just look at if that would have meant any like really good coach would have gotten fired at some point in his tenure or whatever. So my thing is, you could have the worst personnel in the league. You could have injuries. You could have that excuse one season. But for 2 seasons in a row, you can't use that excuse. It's either you're good at coaching the defense or you're not. So, in my opinion, you could have the worst personnel in the league and not be last 2 years in a row if you're trying to win. Now, there might be the exception of a tanking team or something like that. But overall, I don't think a good coach would have a bad defense 2 years in a row, especially a team like the Blazers who had made the playoffs and had high aspirations and all that kind of stuff. So I went back and looked at it. And so the previous 2 seasons, Scott Brooks going into this year in Washington had a bottom 3 defense. So probably should have been fired last offseason, right? You look at him this year, was horrible until like a month or 2 ago. And all of a sudden they've been really good defensively the last, I don't know what changed, but they're up to, I want to say 19th or 21st or something in defense this year. So maybe he's saving his job. I've heard that he has a playoff ultimatum for if they don't make the playoffs, he's going to be fired. And then we got John Beilein last year, who didn't even make it through the season. We got Luke Walton twice, one with the Kings this year and one with the Lakers a few years ago, pre-LeBron, after Kobe, those kind of seasons. But those were with like Lonzo Ball and like those kind of guys, so it's not like he had terrible defenders. Ingram, those guys are thought of as solid defenders. Then we have Ryan Saunders, who was fired this year. Ty Lue, the season he made it 6 games after LeBron left, and then Larry Drew took over for the rest of the season, but that team was awful. But this year, they're not a bottom 3 defense with pretty bad personnel. Tyronn Lue was the year before LeBron's last year. They were terrible on defense. That was the year they traded Kyrie before the season, and they had Isaiah Thomas, and he barely played. Then you got Igor Kokoskov, his one and only season in Phoenix. The year before, Earl Watson, who made it 3 games, and then Jay Triano took over as interim. Then you had Fred Hoiberg. And so that's the last 4 seasons of coaches that have finished. And so my question to you is Stotts an outlier on that list? Or does he belong with those guys? Is he that level of coach? Or is he just all these excuses for him can be applied and there's no way he should be down there as doing as bad of a job as some of those guys did?
Yeah, I mean, I know you know my opinion on it. But yeah, that's interesting. I did not see your post on that.
So, yeah, so someone said he's like Fred Hoiberg without Damian Lillard, right? Mm-hmm. And so if Fred Hoiberg had Damian Lillard, he probably would have been a lot better with Chicago, you know? It's like, okay, at some point you have to recognize Stotts, most of those guys on the list only did it once. Stotts now has done it twice. And those are all some of the worst teams in the league and stuff like that. So at what point do you stop using excuses and call it what it is? He has done an absolutely pathetic job on the defensive end the last 2 seasons coaching-wise. You can give him an excuse for 1 season, but for 2 seasons in a row to not do much to improve his defense and to seemingly be still stuck stubbornly doing a lot of the same defensive things he did last year for it to be bad. It is absolutely a horrendous job by Terry Stotts, and he deserves to be mentioned with those coaches and should suffer the same fate as most of them. And that's what I believe, because you cannot convince me that a good coach would be there amongst those names, right?
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
time, let alone twice in a row.
I'm just thinking about what if somebody is tuning into the stream for the first time with the score being us winning by 36, and they're just tuned into that conversation.
Yeah. Well, we had that article today, so it's kind of relevant. I would have brought it up if it wasn't for the dono, probably. But yeah, so I went back even further, and the only coach that you can consider like a decent coach that's even had a bottom three defense at any point in his tenure, Mike Malone in his second year of Denver, when they were still kind of a rebuilding young team, was 28th in defense. And they improved into the mid-20s the next season and have improved steadily since. So that's the one coach where you could say maybe he got a year where he didn't have a good defensive team and shore up some things, or maybe did a few things differently, or maybe got different personnel or whatever. But that's the only coach you could point to. I think Mike Malone's slightly above average. I don't think he's a lead or anything. I think it's pretty clear that you are not a good coach if you cannot at least get your defense in 2 straight seasons above the 28th rated defense.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. And that's why it's likely to be gone, and that's why a 36-point win against the Cavs doesn't change anything. Right. It's too big of a sample size to ignore and use anecdotal stretches like a 4-game winning streak to argue otherwise. I mean, we had a 6-game winning streak earlier this season and started playing good teams and started getting blown out. So we'll see what the Blazers can do in the playoffs. We'll see if they can actually play a lick of defense. I mean, they played good defense tonight, right? 105 points given up by the Cleveland Cavaliers.
This game is definitely good for Stotts and his offensive rating and defensive rating. Mm-hmm. But just for the record, Minnesota is 28th, and we're as close to them as them getting to 21st. Or actually, they're closer to being in 21st than we are to passing Minnesota at 28th in defense.
Yeah. So I mean, the defense has not been good. Yeah. Been better-ish lately. Still not good. This team's gonna have to defend in order to have some playoff success. I'm looking at Denver, and I feel like we would be able to match up extremely well with them defensively. They're suffering at the guard positions, and where are our weakest defenders at the guard positions, right? So, today they're playing the Knicks. They're beating them by 19. They started Campazzo and
Porter Jr. at the 2, I think.
I mean, if they do that,
that's tough with our 3.
Aaron Gordon at the 3. Oh, by the way, Eric, in 22 minutes, Aaron Gordon has 0 points, is 0 for 6 from the field, and 0 for 2 from 3. Has 1 assist.
Excuse me, Tori. I've been told by multiple people that he does the little things that don't show up in the box score. So.
Yeah.
And he is solely responsible for their turnaround of the season.
Like have 2 turnovers? Oh, no, that's in the box score. 5. Oh, no, that's in the box. 5 rebounds. Oh, he magically helps his team win in a way that people just cannot explain and cannot see. It's just happening magically. You put him on the floor and magic happens. He can sit down on the other end of the court, right? And it just magically makes the team better.
I saw someone say, I think he's down below 50% now, but at the time it was like, if any player was traded to the Blazers and they were 15-3, no matter how much he contributed to that, I would say that's a great trade. It's like, that's so surface level.
That's so surface level. Yeah. I mean, that's how people are, though. If we win this game, Stotts is a great coach, a type of crap. It's comical. But yeah, they started Campazzo, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, Paul Millsap, and Nikola Jokic.
So Taylor Packard, what's up, man? He says, let's be real, he was going to be more important as a big wing defender in the later rounds if Murray stayed healthy. But Murray went down, and he's a playmaking wing, right? Mm-hmm. And he has absolutely sucked the last few games. They lost to the Lakers. He was terrible in that game. He's actually not been playing heavy minutes. They've actually not played him in a lot of crunch time situations or fourth quarters, and so if he's as good as everyone who wanted him claims he is, he should be stepping up with Murray out, not just completely withering and going away. So I've never liked his game. I'm just going to flat out say it. I think he's got a horrible work ethic. Anyone with that kind of talent and ability who does not make it show consistently on the court obviously has some sort of mental or work ethic issue, and I would never want to put my faith in a guy like that.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that's improved is maybe his passing in the past 5 years, and maybe his defense a little bit. But you're talking about a guy who at 22 is averaging 18 points per game, shooting 34% from three, 43% from the field. Last season, shoots 31% from three, 44% from the field. This season, he's shooting 34.5% from three. He's declining. And this is what we said. Bro, Eric, you remember when he was shooting 36.5%, 37%, 38% earlier in the season? I remember you saying, yeah, he starts off season swell, and then as the season goes on, his three-point percentage just tanks. Absolutely tanks. And that's how it was last year. He finished at 31%. Through 20 games, he was shooting 40% or something like that last season, if I recall correctly. Actually, I can look up.
It was either last season or 2 seasons ago, yeah. The Magic got off to a good start.
Yeah, I think it was 2 seasons ago, actually. His three-point percentage in Denver is 28% right now. And we said that. Watch, his three-point percentage is going to tank to end the season because that's what happens with him. And that's exactly what it did. I'm looking at 2018-2019 is what we're thinking about because in November, 39%. In December, he shot 41%, then 28%, 29%. Had a good month of March, 39%. But I'm kind of curious what he shoots for the playoffs.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
But you predicted exactly his three-point percentage just tanking.
And since you're on his page, how many assists is he averaging on Denver?
2.4 assists per game.
Yep. Down from 4.1 or something.
I thought he was supposed to be our Draymond, man. I've never liked Aaron Gordon either.
Care to guess who's having a breakout last few games for the Orlando Magic?
Who's that?
Have you seen this?
Don't pay attention to the Magic.
So 3 games ago, RJ Hampton. Remember him? Mm-hmm. We wouldn't give up Anthony Simons. Also playing better than Aaron Gordon, by the way. And that's someone who I got questions for the last 2 years about. You can go back and check some of the mailbags. I said on this show that I would rather have Anthony Simons or Zach Collins than Aaron Gordon. I would take Anthony Simons over Aaron Gordon right now. I don't care how good his defense is. We would be killing that guy if he was playing this badly on offense on our team, and it wouldn't matter that much in our defensive scheme. So he wouldn't have any impact on our defense. But RJ Hampton, 3 games ago, had 18.7 rebounds, 5 assists on 7 of 14 shooting, 2 of 3 from 3. Then 2 games ago, 16 points, 10 assists, 7 rebounds on 5 of 11 shooting and 1 of 2 from 3. And then tonight's RJ Hampton has... Oh, it's freezing on me.
I got it right here. He currently has...
No, it's a final.
He's not playing. He didn't play tonight. Oh, yeah, he did. Had 18 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists.
Yeah.
6 of 14 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3. 5 for 7 from the free throw line. You're talking about a rookie who's 19 years old, maybe 20 now. 2 years younger than Anthony, right?
Yep.
So they wanted RJ Hampton, and they got him. RJ Hampton has potential to be a starting guard in this league, to be better than Aaron Gordon is right now, and he's played better than Aaron Gordon. If you're just looking at his last 3 games, the 4 games ago he had 11, struggled from the field, but this is a guy who has a lot of potential. So. I've never been on board the Aaron Gordon train. You guys know that. People overrate him. And, of course, when when you're basically saying trade the entire mansion for Aaron Gordon. Trade CJ and picks for Aaron Gordon or whatever Danny Meringue wanted. When you're saying that and then Aaron Gordon comes to Denver and he struggles, of course you're going to sit there and say, well, he just does the little things that don't show up on the stat sheet, Because how do you argue that? Look at their record with them. Of course you're going to try and find anything you can to kind of save yourself there. But, yeah, never wanted the guy. Hasn't been why Denver's been fine without Jamal Murray. That's more so been another guy that I don't like, but I call it how it is. That's more so been Michael Porter Jr., as much as I hate to say it. Mm-hmm. Michael Porter Jr. since Jamal Murray went down, it's been balling.
He's not good defensively, but when he's aggressive on offense, he's really hard to stop, and he's got the size, especially if they're playing him at the 2. We're going to have a tough time matching up with him.
But here's the thing. He has to guard Dame or CJ, right? Or I guess you put Aaron Gordon on that, but then Campazzo is going to guard one of Dame and CJ. I mean, if they start that lineup, I mean, I'm fine with Norman Powell on Michael Porter Jr., I guess. I would probably go Norman Powell on Michael Porter Jr. and then CJ on Aaron Gordon. Because Aaron Gordon ain't going to punish CJ. And, Aaron Gordon does not play up to his size and his athleticism. You know what I mean? You just can't get back cut. You just got to be smart off the ball and make sure you don't get back cut if you're CJ. Because, I mean, obviously you got Jokic as a passer and he is a lob target. But in the month of April, Michael Porter Jr. averaged 24 points per game. In 2 games in May, he's averaging 22 points per game. So him stepping up is why they've been fine without Jamal Murray. And Jokic is playing insane. It's funny how people try and attribute it to Aaron Gordon, though, when Aaron Gordon isn't playing good.
Campazzo's actually been playing decent as well.
Yeah, my guy Campazzo. So that's the team.
Dozier went down against the Lakers, but he had been stepping up also.
Yeah. I mean, we have the wing defenders to throw at like a Paul Millsap. Paul Millsap's a little bit more of a post player, but I think Covington on him, he can handle that much better than like Aminu did when we threw Aminu at him a couple years ago. Other than that, I mean, we have the wing defenders to throw at a Michael Porter Jr. and Aaron Gordon. I would hope that maybe Derrick Jones Jr. would get a chance. Nas would get a chance. We have the defenders to match up against them. I mean, I'm fine with Dame on Campazzo. I think Dame will be fine on Campazzo. That's the thing. Dame wouldn't really have to work to guard as much as he normally would in a playoff series like he was when he was guarding Westbrook or when Jamal Murray was healthy. So that's why I like that as a matchup. Nurkic against Jokic, I think Nurkic would be gassed up for that. Maybe a little too gassed up, but we beat them already without Nurkic. It's Nurkic's old team. I think Nurkic would rise to the occasion there. And I think Nurkic, would be a good guy to throw at Jokic. Obviously, Jokic is still going to produce. He's the MVP this year. But we have, Cantor played Jokic okay in the playoffs 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. So, and then I think our bench is better than theirs, which wasn't the case 2 seasons ago when we played them in the second round. Their bench was much better than ours that year. I wouldn't say that. We had Seth Curry, we had Collins and Hood, yeah. But they had
when we started Collins and Hood, then I would say, yeah.
Who'd they have off the bench?
We switched the starting lineup.
But they had Malik Beasley back when he was balling for them. They had who else did they have?
Barton, I think, came off.
They
had
Barton off the bench. They also
did he start that series?
No, I think he. I need a
Torrey Craig. I think Torrey Craig started.
Torrey Craig was a starter. Let me go. Let me go back to that.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity.
And Eric Olson says, "Warning: the Joker is quicker this season." He's. Jokic is going to run away with the MVP, or he should. That guy's had a great season, and he's actually been a positive defender this year. So he's not the same as he was that series. He's obviously improved his game. But without Murray, we don't have the same threat of a Murray-Jokic pick and roll and how we're going to defend that with Kanter and Nurkic and stuff like that. So
Their bench was Monte Morris, Malik Beasley, Will Barton, and Mason Plumlee. I would still say their bench was better than ours. Our bench, I mean, Rodney Hood and Zach Collins played great in that series, but talent-wise, they had the better bench. And then their starting lineup was Jamal Murray, Gary Harris, Torrey Craig, Paul Millsap, Jokic. We were starting Dame, CJ, Aminu, Harkless, Kanter. I mean, you look at things on paper, or our bench, of course, Evan Turner, Rodney Hood, Seth Curry, Myers Leonard, Zach Collins. We played Myers Leonard. I'm just looking at game 1. Played him 12 minutes in game 1. So we were playing 10 people going into the playoffs. Now we're playing 8, seems like. But, I mean, we have... Things are more even in the talent department than they were in that series this year. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's weird because we have... Without Murray, we have 3 guards that are better than any of their guards. By a lot, I think. And then, they have probably... I mean, obviously, Porter's probably a better offensive forward than anyone on our team. And Jokic is obviously better big than any of ours. But if Nurkic can play like he's played several of the last games... and just give us somewhat close to both stopping Jokic a little bit and giving him trouble on the other end, maybe even getting him into foul trouble or something. I think our mismatches at the guard position can outweigh some of their big man advantage.
Yeah, and I would say their talent now might be slightly less than their talent was in that series. You take out Jamal Murray, you sub in Michael Porter Jr., I think that's pretty much a wash.
Millsap's obviously not the same player. Not having Plumlee as a backup.
Their bench is much worse. So I'd say their talent level is slightly less now than it was 2 years ago when we beat them. I'd say our talent level is much greater than it was when we beat them in that series. So if we play them, we have more talent than them right now, in my opinion, given their injuries. But I wouldn't make us the favorite. I wouldn't make us the favorite. Not to downplay our talent then. Rodney Hood stepped up to the occasion. Zach Collins stepped up to the occasion. You had Seth Curry off the bench. So our talent level was underrated back then, but I'm just saying right now I really like this team. So Denver would be my favorite. Or Denver would be the matchup I'd try and get if I was Portland. Obviously, you can't really control that, so you just got to try and win games, but that's the most ideal first-round matchup.
Eric Olson made a joke about Mario Hezonja, but he wasn't on that team. He was on last year's team, not 2 years ago.
Yes. So, anyway, anything else you want to talk about on this one? We've barely really talked about this game, but there's really not much to talk about.
I mean, we dominated, so...
Yeah. We'll really break down the Lakers game for you guys. So if you wanted, more like basketball talk in terms of a game breakdown, just wait until Friday evening. We will have you covered. Friday night, we're back to 7 p.m. tip-off times. Thank goodness. I'm tired of these 4:30 p.m. tip-off times. Glad to be done with this road trip. We shouldn't have to deal with any super early tips unless it's a Sunday in the playoffs now.
Yeah. Ethan Pettit wants us to talk about Dame being on the Dan Patrick show today. I don't know if you heard that.
No, what did you say?
It was mostly about Melo's legacy and stuff, but he did mention specifically that he cannot do what Steph Curry does because the offense is just different here, and we don't have a way to get him open shots like that. And so he has to take it upon himself to hit more contested shots.
Is that like a shot towards Stotts?
No. I took it more as him just saying the same thing he told Mike Brown. No, we just don't have the, ways to do that like Golden State does for some reason. I don't know. But, I guarantee you Curry would have said the same things the year before Curry got there, so...
Yeah, in that, I don't know. The way that was quoted makes it almost sound like, well, our offense doesn't really do that, so I have to take it upon myself. I don't know. Maybe there's one of the interesting things that was in the article about that had the head coaching replacement possibilities for Portland was Apparently, a source said Stotts has less player support than he's had in the past. Yeah. So I wonder if maybe Dame looks at Golden State and is starting to wonder, why can't we do that type of stuff for me, and why can't I, work less for better shots instead of having to work for contested sidestep and threes all the time. I don't know. It just seems, I don't know. Obviously, I didn't read the interview, so I'll trust your judgment off it. I just feel like when it comes to Dame, you could read into a lot of his comments in multiple ways.
Well, the only reason why I didn't think that is because, like I said, it basically said it in the exact same way he said it the last time it was suggested that he comes off the ball, more like, we don't have the way to run those kind of plays because we don't have Draymond or whatever. Well, and maybe that's why he's wanted Draymond Green for years. But yeah.
Hold up. Michael was saying Stotts compared himself to Popovich in the postgame interview.
Yeah, no. Can we trust Michael? Just kidding, man.
I didn't want to watch the Stotts interview, though. Do you want to watch the Stotts interview, Eric?
Sure. It was a joke?
That wasn't a resounding enough... Oh, if it was a joke? It was a joke? Okay, we're not watching it.
It was a joke that he said that, or Stotts said it, but as a joke?
Yeah. If he's not comparing himself to Pop, I'm not watching the interview. You just wanted us to play it.
You hyped it up, Michael Renault.
that was a good troll job. I respect. Okay, I can respect a good troll job. A lot of times people come and chat and troll in just a way that's just annoying and not good. That was a good one, because I literally opened up a YouTube tab, was gonna search the interview. So good job. But now we're not gonna watch it. We're gonna wrap up this stream.
Well. Real quick, so Brian the Kid says Dame hasn't publicly defended Stotts like he used to in a while. I don't even think this season, in fact. And here's the thing. Everyone points to that, like, oh, Dame would never let Stotts be fired. He's always had his back. He's too loyal, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so after the Pelican series, Dame, it's public knowledge now that Dame... they were going to consider firing Stotts, and Dame went to him and said to give him another year. And then, of course, they make the Western Conference Finals, so how can you fire him then, right? But since that moment, there hasn't been a lot of Dame support for Stotts or anything like that. So, I think we're getting distance from that issue or that moment where he defended him. And as time goes by and he starts to see more and more players like a Steph Curry who gets these open shots, I hope that he does see that maybe it's time for something different, because it's just not working here.
Yep. Jonathan said he just joined and asked if we already talked about the report about firing Stotts and hiring Jason Kidd. Yes, we did. If you rewind, you should be able to find that segment. We did talk quite a bit about it. Anything else you want to say on this? Because we're going to wrap this up.
No, we're just looking forward to the game on Friday, and then we'll have Blazers Uprise live on our second channel tomorrow. I haven't checked how many games there are tomorrow.
Eric with the plug. I think it's 6, but maybe more.
7 games tomorrow.
All right, a good old 7 games. Is the plan to do a go out with a bang and do a picks against the spread Blazers Uprise live on Sunday, last day of the season?
Sure, we can do that.
Let's do that. We'll go out with a bang on Sunday the 16th. There's 15 games being played that day. Every team in the league plays that day. So figured we do a picks against the spread segment.
I'm guessing there'll be games at 10 a.m. though. So we might have to do it Saturday night.
We could do it Saturday night.
Yeah.
We'll know the times. Shoot, yeah. I'd be down to just do a Saturday night stream for the morning games, Sunday night stream for the games, or Sunday afternoon stream for the games after that, if you guys want. I don't know, obviously depends on Eric. We'll figure it out. It would just be fun to have that final day, just give people a very outside but very unlikely chance. It's unless Eric completely chokes at this point. Right now he's kind of running away with it, but we'll figure that out for picks against the spread the weekend of the 15th and 16th.
I think maybe the NBA is waiting like the NFL does to schedule significant games at the same time so that there's no like resting and stuff if the other team loses and you don't need to win and stuff. Because as of right now, every game is scheduled for 8:11 a.m.
Yeah, everything says TBD on ESPN. I feel like they should just schedule them all in the evening like normal. And that's how they can handle that. I don't know. But we'll see. That is a Sunday, so we'll have to figure that out. We'll figure that out, though, and keep you posted. Picks against the spread will, of course, be on our second channel tomorrow over on Blazers Uprise Live. Link top of the description below. Other than that, make sure you follow us at Troy Jones YT for me, at HoopsJock for Eric, at Blazers Uprise YT for the channel over on Twitter. Other than that, we're going to wrap this up. Streaming tomorrow, streaming on Friday. Very excited to see if the Blazers can take care of business on national TV against the Lakers. I'll enjoy listening to an ESPN broadcast. Well, we should have a pretty good post-game show. Win or lose, it should be pretty popping in here after that game. So hopefully we're able to see you on Friday night. And
Paint it.
Hopefully we do a lot of painting on Friday. Yeah.
Paint the fence.
Yeah. There's a couple I'm starting to try and tweet out Kent quotes just for the comedic effect, but there's a couple today that I didn't tweet that I probably should have.
Karate Kid.
Pour yourself a glass, paint it, 3 to the dome. Anyway, we're going to wrap up the stream with Jordan Kent sayings. Hope you have a good rest of your night, and hopefully we're able to catch you on our second channel tomorrow. If not, hopefully Friday night for the post-game stream. Other than that, thank you to the people who donated, Mills Woj and JM. Thank you to my mods, Zach, Reese, and Trevin. And thank you to everybody who tuned in. We will catch you tomorrow or Friday, hopefully. Shout out to Brandon G hitting it on the outro with the $5 dono with no message on it. Appreciate it, Brandon. We will catch you guys hopefully in the coming days. Until then, hope life goes well. Hope life is good. With that being said, we're out of here. We will catch you next time. Until then, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.